Cool, that looks like it's recording. Excellent. So, hello everyone. For those who don't know, I'm Tim. I'm sort of the instructory kind of person here at the Old Sword Club. Normally I give lessons in person, but right now because we're all in isolation, I'm doing them online. So yeah, and tonight we're going to look at Le Carme, French cane fighting or walking stick fighting. This is my stick. So this is primarily a French system that I've sort of dived into. I should specify normally what I teach is late 19th century British sabre. So this is a bit of a departure for me. This is something I'm a little bit new to. So I hope you'll be a bit forgiving of given that I'm nowhere near as experienced with this as I am with the stuff I normally sort of teach. But yeah, this is a very sort of dapper, proper 19th century form of self-defense. There's actually a lot of authors in the 19th century suggest that the reason why canes kind of came into fashion when they did, like why every gentleman was seen with a walking stick, is because the wearing of swords fell out of fashion, and people still wanted to carry a weapon, but they didn't want to be seen. They didn't want to be wearing a sword, because by the late 19th century, wearing a sword in the street was kind of like wearing a sword in the street today. It could get you some odd looks unless there was an obvious reason why you were carrying a sword around and was legal in some places. So I'm just going to go through, talk about like the different sort of basic attacks of sabre, of cane, sorry, but I'm also going to talk about how it relates to sabre a bit. Because when I started the Old Sword Club, one of the things that we sort of wanted to do was train primarily in sabre, and then the other weapons we were going to teach were weapons that are good for helping you fence better with your sabre. And walking stick cane fighting is really, really good for teaching power generation, and also there's a bunch of techniques that you primarily get from cane that are transferable, which is kind of cool. And actually, the point where French cane fighting started, contrary to popular belief, it didn't start necessarily as a form of self-defense. It became very popular for gentlemanly self-defense in the 19th century, first in France and then overseas. But it actually started started as a way of improving the French military. And so what the Jomsville Academy of Arms did, which is the premier sort of French military academy at the time, is they started teaching stick fighting based off actually French peasant traditions that unfortunately we don't really have any documentation of. But they started doing stick fighting, that became more and more popular. And then in, I think, about 1848, you get Leboucher with his method that sort of kind of laid the groundwork for most sort of French cane systems afterwards. And although you do get sort of weird variants, things like the Defense Dans La Rue kind of cane fighting, which is the other sort of source I draw on, which kind of took what was seen as a more sort of sportive, kind of mainstream French cane method that the modern French cane fencing is descended from, and tried to make it more practical for self-defense. Cool. So I'm just going to quickly pause recording so that all of the recordings come through as separate videos, which I can easily upload rather than needing to divide them up. So just bear with me a second.